So, well, welcome to Florida. And so tell us about this project. This is for a client.
Yeah, so this was one of the, so I'm 4 months into my copywriting career, and this was probably the one of the earlier clients that I took on, probably in December around there. And she's done a series of like workshops and more local clients, and she's actually had a lot of great results. She's got like a long list of students that she's kind of transformed their life in terms of personal development and finding the confidence, and whether it's in their career or relationships, that way. And she's just trying to create a more of an online, more scalable product for that. I think the key challenges for me are, she's a lot of the other people within our industry are more focused on maybe career or, relationship focused, whereas this course is a little bit more intangible. So it's not selling a set goal. So that's kind of what I've been struggling with. And then the other part is just, particularly in the last few weeks, kind of just writing for a woman, getting into that space,
Yeah.
writing a little bit more emotionally, is where I'd kind of like to get the feedback as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you're a dude trying to write for a woman, two other women, and so that's challenging. It can be done, has been done successfully, but we definitely need female perspective on this, and this is why nobody writes alone. And it'll be good to get some perspective. You've been getting some good. This is a live hot seat thread, so tell us about the feedback you've been getting so far.
Yeah, I think I put in there a few weeks ago, and I think Sabrina and a few others have kind of just helped me. I think originally, and the way that she's kind of sold the product is kind of getting to that kind of dream life scenario. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the people within the forum have helped me kind of realize that, we're not selling that end goal, which a lot of people can't see yet. What
Right.
we're just trying to sell them is trying to get unstuck, kind of relief of their pain more than anything else, before they can get to the point where they're thinking about, the career or the freedom, or things like that they really want. So it's kind of taking it in steps rather than trying to sell the whole thing at once.
Yeah, tell me. So this is called U School, and tell me about this guru here. How long she been around? How big is her tribe? All that stuff.
Yeah, so she's been doing it for about 3 years now, and a lot of it's based on her own experience. So she, for a long time, was in a corporate sales job for a long period of time, and kind of went to, was sitting in a cubicle every day, knowing that she knew, she had something more that she wanted to offer to the rest of the world. But it took her a long period. It took her almost a
Hmm.
decade to kind of figure out how to actually do that. And then she came up with kind of this 5-step formula to, help people out, kind of think about what they really are passionate about, kind of get through those limiting beliefs, and eventually get to the point where, your life within your career and relationship are doing that. So I think she's been doing it kind of more in that face-to-face workshop format. So it's kind of been a little bit more. Her
Gotcha.
tribe is probably a couple hundred women versus online, where she's trying to, obviously have a lot more connections. So I think she's early days in terms of building her authority and
Yep.
getting her name out there. But I think the good part is, I basically, for this sales letter, kind of sat down with about 10 of her previous students and kind of went through, well, how did they get to her program, and kind of how
Yeah.
did this course kind of help them through. So that was kind of the helpful part, is she's got that proof there that her process actually does work, and just a matter of kind of getting it out to the world.
Yeah. And so you have access to all the dialogue she's having with her, not only her students but people who are looking to join. Is she very active on social media, for instance, having conversations with people there?
She's trying to do more of that, and that's what I've been trying to help her do a little bit more. She's got a couple Facebook groups but she really hasn't spent the time kind of interacting, increasing that engagement. So there are more groups that were people joined but weren't as engaged in. So she's doing more and more of that, and I think that's something she's focused on. And I think, once we get more of that proof out there and get to know the success stories, that'll come
Yep.
through as well.
Okay, cool. All right. So this is story based, and this is all your copy here on this page, Brian. Did I lose you? Hello.
Yeah, so a lot of it's just kind of using the yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Yeah, so a lot of this is kind of just pulled from either her experiences. So the headline is kind of what she was kind of thinking sitting in her cubicle as a sales person 10 years ago, and kind of the first part of the lead is one of her former students, kind of her the actual event that happened and how she felt paralyzed. So I'm
Hmm.
trying to use as much as possible kind of the student's language to help me with that voice and to help with that kind of more feminine language and kind of amp up the emotion as well.
Right. And so, but this is Jillian here. She's Jillian, right? The guru here,
She's not she's Tanya. So
or she's Tanya. I
right.
got you.
Yep.
So that threw me. I assumed I was reading her story, and so Jillian is literally this is one of her students, and okay, gotcha. Just the way the page was laid out, I figured I was reading her story. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
All right, so this is
in a previous version I did have her story, but yep.
yeah, and so why did you go? Why did you change that? What was it about her story that you felt like wasn't as compelling enough?
I think the feedback that I got was that having an actual event in there just wasn't a compelling situation that kind of talked about that change that was happening, like what actually compelled her to start making these major changes in her life to do that versus Jillian's story where it was actually like sitting in her driveway in the car kind of thinking there's a lot more of that situation where I can kind of talk through some of those thoughts and emotions in her head.
Yeah. So an easy fix there is like I would just lead with Tanya saying, "It's Tanya here." You know, um, a couple quick lines about the situation they're likely in and want to get out of that she can relate to, and then I would introduce Jillian a little bit and say, "You might relate to this story of when Jillian reached her breaking point, right?" Just to give it context, because with no sort of intro and salutation here, I just had to assume that I'm hearing her story.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't, and she doesn't say in the video like now you're going to read a story from Jillian. This is just kind of a overall high level promise of what the program can do for them, right?
Yeah, the video was just trying to kind of introduce her
Right.
as a
Yeah, just
as a
establish who she
a
is
guru, think of
as
it
an
that way.
authority, right? Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, let's get April on. I said April Dykman is a longtime member of Copy Chief. She's in the super group with me, someone I know well and had the privilege of coaching and working with. Um, and hi, April.
Hey, Kevin.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
April is also, I can mention a she cubs with Paris Lampropolis. And so she's learning copy and executing copy. She partners with Paris on projects. And so obviously he's writing at about the highest level you can get in this world and is really good at critiquing and breaking down copy. So thanks for being here, April, with us today. I particularly wanted you to come on and look at this letter with us. And so we could give Brian lots of great feedback. And I'm not a female. So I thought, I
What?
would hand the. I know it's hard to tell. What do you see here?
So I have it pulled up, so I'm actually gonna scroll through because I made some notes here. But one of
Right.
the things that I noticed is what you mentioned, Kevin. Not just that the video threw me off about who is Tanya, but who is Jillian. But there's actually like as you go through the story about Jillian, it's I met this person named Tanya. She changed my life. I took her program. And then it goes into I created this program, which is really jarring because I'm like, well, who created the program? Like, is this now Tanya? Is Jillian created the program she just took? So I'd be really careful about that. And when you make those other changes that Kevin suggested, that might help to take care of it. But just if you're going to go from somebody's story back to the creator, just make sure it's very clear that you're switching who I is in that story. So that was one of the things. The other thing that stuck out to me is the headline. So whenever you're writing a headline, the goal is to get you to start reading the sales letter. So you need to have some kind of a benefit in there. And this headline doesn't have that for me. It actually confuses me because when it's saying, is this my life? How did I get here? Is there a way out? I actually was like, is somebody trapped somewhere? Or like, like, so that really threw me, but I liked the story. So I think that there's something there. I would just rework this headline in a way where the benefit is clear. And maybe it's something as simple as using their language back, reflecting their language back to them. So they talk about being stuck and insecure, and they want to be confident, and they want to be successful, and they want to feel free. So maybe there's something in there that you can use to write a headline. Let's see, what else? I have a whole page of notes here, Kevin, so you just cut me off.
That's okay. No, just focusing on the headline for a minute, Brian. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Did you write some other versions where they're a little more? I get what you're doing here. You're just trying to bring us straight into the story. But I think the way it's structured, you've got a traditional deck format up here, right? Where normally we'd see a headline that kind of tells us what the program's about and then gets us into moving. If this was like the whole page and it was like, we just want to bring people in the story and then make this transition into, okay, there's a product here, a little bit more like the emails we've been writing in the workshop, right? Then I wouldn't have the video here. That's what kind of throws it off, Okay. So because we have the video here, and I agree that the video is important, I think we should just structure the deck more traditionally to have the eyebrow, a little attention, women, and then describe the avatar, right? Finally, a program that really does we could, if you haven't used, by the way, the copy generator, the dialogue driven copy generator, look for that in the trainings, because then you've got so much dialogue, you could use that to pump out, and it gives you 50 different formulas for proven headlines that you can pick from in there. Okay. And then, you could talk as much or a little about the actual course and things there under that, get to the video, and then start out with some story there. So I think that might be a thing to play around with. Did you toy with that before you wrote this version as well?
Yes, I had something like go from stuck and paralyzed to confident and crystal clear, much more masculine. And that's kind of the feedback that I got, is like, you wrote a headline that's for women that I know a guy wrote. So I think there was probably some good stuff in there, but I wrote it in such a masculine way that didn't really appeal to people. So
yeah, Abby's got a good point. She says, you want to sell the feeling. What is the feeling they have now? What are they looking for? What is missing? Fulfillment, purpose, passion. She says, she was in this position. And my wife went through this too. It's like, you're being superhero, working, raising kids. That should be enough. But then you find out it's not enough. And, that's
we'll do it later.
Startling moment.
Yes, I mean, I think it's tough because it's a mix of audiences where it's, some people are more concerned about the career, some people it's a relationship, and I think that's something that I've talked about her with as well. It's like, maybe with this program we'd be a little bit more specific, but she's been kind of, I don't know if that's necessary, but it's kind of just very intangible in terms of like what the key benefit each person can focus on is.
Yeah, what do you do in that situation, April?
Well, I was going to say that was one of my notes, is that I start off, like when I'm reading the story and she's talking about being overwhelmed and having kids and all of this, I'm like, okay, I can kind of relate to this. And this, so we get on, it talks about somebody's engagement broke off, and it talks about going out at night and looking for a great man. And then I'm like, well, who is this for? If she's unwilling to pick a lane, then I don't know, that becomes kind of a client thing when they're not willing to narrow it down. But if you're looking at who your audience is, there's not like a theme where people are talking about career, where people are talking about kids. I mean, I would go with who your number one customer is and follow that.
Yeah. April, the career thread is kind of what stuck out the most out of 75% of them. So
yeah,
the career thing. Yeah. April, can you I'm sure you don't have it like sitting next to you, but it'd be cool if there was like famous control copy that we know that handles a similar topic, and where you could see where the product might solve a bunch of problems, but they chose one that they knew either from research or testing resonated the most. Because it'd be cool to see an example of how did they get the rest of those in there later with bullets and those kinds of things. But it is a tough thing to do, Brian, but choosing one is the most powerful thing to do.
Yeah, and that was actually one of my notes, was picking one big benefit and leading with that. So whichever benefit is, I guess, speaks to your audience the most, you have the most people, or like the people have that problem more than any other. That's the biggest pain point. You want to find that one and really lead with it. And then later, after you've talked about that in your copy and you get toward, the end of your copy, you can add in all of those other things. Like, by the way, this is also going to help you do this and do that. But you really have to pick that one that you want to sort of hang your hat on at the beginning. Yeah. Otherwise, you just start to get lost and you don't really understand what the program is going to do for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yep. I'm sorry. Go ahead, April.
I was going to say another thing is that I would add social proof a lot higher up, because this program feels so intangible to me that if it were just me reading it on my own, I would have stopped much sooner, because I just feel like I'm not sure what results I'm getting. I don't really understand what this is for. But if you move that social proof higher up, then I think that would help keep people hooked long enough to keep reading your sales letter. Yeah, that was another section, Kevin. Scroll back. So on everything you'll get, rather than selling it on, 37 videos, 100-page workbook. If somebody's feeling overwhelmed, they don't want 37 videos and 100-page workbook. Right. So I would rewrite those to be more about the benefit they're going to get than the feature of the product.
What's the end result of going through that? I agree. It's like,
because I want to feel like it's going to be easy. I want to feel like I'm going to pay you this money, and at the end of 5 weeks, I've just got to follow along, and I'm going to have these results.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, something I learned in the last few years and have been letting guide my marketing, Brian, is that people don't want a library, they want a prescription, right? So don't be the librarian who's like, we've got so much stuff, and surely within all of this 37 videos and 100-page workbook, you're going to find an answer. You have to, right? They don't want to do any of that work. You say, I'm the doctor, and I'm going to write you a prescription. You're going to bring it to the pharmacist. They're going to give you the pill. And so, how in that 5 weeks will they be transformed? I would also want to see a lot of future pacing in here, where I'm just seeing if maybe it's here and I haven't seen it yet. But, tell me, like Dabby said, how does it feel now, and how am I going to feel over these 5 weeks? What have these other women experienced in their journey to, overcoming these issues? And so now you can make the promise to me, like, if you follow along and engage, then hopefully, likely you're going to have the same experience. So there is you do have some good, this is all really good, but the testimonials and all that, like April said, I would maybe spread some of that in sooner. So I think the big takeaway, Brian, is it's where it always is on sales pages. It's the deck and the lead. The lead is definitely confusing. I read this and I really thought this was Jillian, and she met this person. So I never got that Tanya was. I thought I was learning from somebody who had this chance meeting with this other group. And that's not what we want. We don't want her to feel once removed from the magic. She is the magic. So I would revisit her story and figure out how you can write it in a way. I'm sure you can take the core elements of what's interesting about her story and make it compelling for the lead. And then you can transition and sprinkle other stories in there as well. One thing you could even do is you could take some of the core elements and facts of these other stories and, drop them in, and you can say, you'll see her video below as I'm reading, right? And so if one of those in particular really strikes me as, oh my God, that's me exactly. I can scroll down and just start watching this case study. So, which are probably the most powerful elements on the page. It's gonna be seeing the other people who have been through Tanya's training, their transition. I think that's going to sell this more than anything. So,
Yeah, I agree.
all right, is that helpful?
Yeah, I mean, one of the question I'd have is like before you introduce the product, is it helpful to have case studies, or where would you have, like, would you
Yeah, because
introduce
they
the
know why.
product first?
I think they know why they're
and then-
there. They're there to hopefully join a program, right? I mean, because what's driving them to this page? Is it email? Is it Facebook ads? How are they getting here?
Yeah, it's mainly email, her email list.
Yeah, so she should be very, she can do a lot of the storytelling and stuff in the email. You don't want to assume they've read it closely and make it, an essential part of the sales letter. But I would invite them directly to the program and say, come check it out, learn what it's all about, and, have them come with that intent of joining a program that's going to give them this transformation. All right.
All right, appreciate it.
Cool.
I'll just add one more thing, Kevin.
Yep.
So I know that you're using the story to capture the language and what the customers are saying and how women speak. One thing that I did notice in the story, though, is that there's a lot of extra information that sort of mentally takes me down other rabbit holes, but then I don't really know why it's there. So at one point, we're talking about this woman being in the driveway and she's been doing wife things and kid things and can't go in the house, but then she's in the sauna. And then she meets this other person and her engagement ended and she lost her job. And it's very disorienting.
Yeah.
So I feel like you could just cut that out. Like, we don't really even, I think that her meltdown in the driveway is really enough. And to add these other details and details that I can't really relate to,
Right.
it's just extra. So I would make sure that when you're writing this, pick and choose, even though you're using their words, pick and choose what's moving your story along and what needs to go in there and what's going to help your case versus what is going to kind of confuse the reader or open loops that you don't really need to open.
Yeah, I think the idea there was trying to like introduce somehow her into the story without even, that was kind of before I even had the video in there. So
yeah, I mean, you could just say like she's having this meltdown and then her whole life was going to change and then I met Tanya. And just, it doesn't need to be in a sauna. Doesn't need to be a engagement, none of that. Just get to that a little bit quicker. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we'll follow the thread and see your iterations, and we'll keep commenting and guiding you there, brother. That's what we do here. So thanks for being on, and hopefully this was helpful. Thank you very much, April, for jumping on with us. And I think that's it for the Chief Chat this week. I appreciate everybody, and I will see you inside. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.